Hello everyone, I hope you're doing well. My last video was on creating and sharing your documents as ebooks by exporting them as EPUB files in LibreOffice Writer. Recall that to export, we clicked on File and then Export As, and then went on and clicked on Export as EPUB to export that particular document as an EPUB ebook. If you haven't seen that video or wish to refresh your memory, you can view it using the link in the description box. You will recall from that video that while the LibreOffice EPUB export process created a very readable and usable ebook, I had highlighted 4 issues that needed resolution. Let me quickly recall these 4 issues as we try to address them in this tutorial. On the left half of the screen, you can see the document that I exported as an EPUB in LibreOffice Writer, and in the right half, you can see the exported EPUB ebook displayed using the Calibre ebook reader. The first problem that I highlighted was that our document on the left started with a TOC. The exported EPUB, on the other hand, which you are seeing on the right, does not have that TOC. That is, the table of contents in the document was left behind during export. As we scroll down, we see the second issue. Our original document had these cross references, as you can see here: C Table 1, C section on climate change, C Asia. So the original document had these cross references, which, as you can see, are missing in the exported EPUB. As we scroll down, you can see there is nothing after C. There should have been table 1. Further down, it says C section on. There's nothing after that. It should have been climate change impacts, and so on and so forth. So these cross references are missing in the exported EPUB. Further down, we see the third problem. Our document had a proper list with numbers 1, 2, 3, 4. The exported EPUB does not have a numbered list. That is, the numbers in the list are missing. Finally, the fourth issue pertains to the table of contents created by the LibreOffice EPUB export, which you can see here in the right half of the screen in the eBook TOC panel. Our original document has 3 levels of heading: H1 for chapters and H2 and H3 for sections inside the chapter. Let us just see this. So this is a chapter heading, and if I can just open the style panel here, as you click on a chapter heading, like if you were to click on this chapter heading, you will see that it is styled as heading 1. Subheadings inside this chapter would be styled as heading 2, and sections within the subheadings, this is also a subheading. If we click on it, you will see that it is styled as heading 2, and sections under these subheadings, they were styled as heading 3. So Europe and Asia in this particular case are sections under climate change impacts, and they were styled as heading 3. So after the document was exported as EPUB, you can see here that only the chapter headings, that is H1 or heading 1, have been exported, and the TOC does not show heading 2 and heading 3 level headings, limiting our document's navigation only to chapters but not directly to sections. While these issues might appear trivial, in a large document like a report, thesis, or book, they repeat multiple times in the text and as such can significantly limit the reading experience for the reader. The ideal goal for exporting the document as EPUB should be to faithfully export all or as many features and formatting in the original document to the EPUB ebook as is possible. My name is Chinmaya, and in this video, I will show you how we can easily address these EPUB export issues from LibreOffice Writer itself through a LibreOffice extension, and go even beyond that to add more interesting features and options to your ebook using an open source and free ebook editor called Sigil. The use of a specialist ebook extension and editor is required in the ebook creation process, as it is currently not possible to address these issues while exporting documents as EPUBs from LibreOffice Writer. This video will also help MS Word users to create ebooks from MS Word documents. As to the best of my knowledge, unlike LibreOffice Writer, MS Word does not have any direct EPUB export facility. Let's start by quickly downloading and installing some useful software and then see how we can use them to create great EPUB ebooks. These installs are super fast and very easy to do, and once done will be of immense help. Let's start by first downloading and installing a great LibreOffice extension called Writer to XHTML for LibreOffice Writer, and later on download and install Sigil. So to download the Writer to XHTML extension for LibreOffice, you have to come to the extensions website for LibreOffice. This is extensions.libreoffice.org. Once you reach this site, you can search for Writer to XHTML extension. You can just type it here inside the search box and it will bring you to this page. For your convenience, I have included a direct link to this page in the description below. You can click and reach this page. Once you reach this page, you can just scroll down and you will see a list of all releases of this extension. The latest one at the time of recording this video is 1.7. As this extension works from inside LibreOffice, if you have installed LibreOffice on Linux, Windows or Mac OS, this extension will work for you. You can just come here on the right hand side and click on the download button. So when you do that, you will immediately see that this extension starts downloading. As can be seen here, it's a very small file, 476 kilobytes. So when you open your download folder, you will see that this extension has arrived inside the download folder. Next, we will start our LibreOffice. You will notice that I have activated this tabbed user interface. If you are not able to see this tabbed user interface, you can just come to View, click on User Interface, make sure that tabbed is checked, and then just simply come here and apply to Writer. So when you do that, you will see this tabbed interface. One of these tabs is the Extension tab. So when you click on the Extension tab, you will find on the extreme right corner a small drop down, and when you click on this drop down, you can then have access to the Extension Manager. You can also invoke the Extension Manager by Control Alt and E. If you are not very happy with the tabbed user interface and if you are using the menu interface, you can get the Extension Manager from the Tools menu. You can come down and click on the Extension Manager. All of these lead to the exact same dialog. The Extension Manager just simply opens up for you, and this is what you are going to see. So some of these extensions have been installed by default when you install LibreOffice. We can add a new extension, and that is what we are wanting to do. We want to add the Writer to XHTML extension that we have already downloaded. So we can just come here and click on the Add button, and then you can navigate to the folder where the Writer to XHTML extension has been downloaded. Then just simply click on it and then press open. So when you do this, this extension starts installing. Because it's a very small file, it doesn't take long at all. And if at some stage you want to remove this extension, you can always come and open the Extension Manager and click on the Remove button and remove this extension. So I've installed this extension, and then I will just go ahead and press close. So when you do this, you are prompted to restart. So we need to do this. We'll click on the Restart Now button. This will restart LibreOffice, and you can then start using the Writer to XHTML extensions. So when LibreOffice Writer restarts, you will immediately see these 4 buttons available here as a result of your installing the Writer to XHTML extension. So that's just about it. We have now installed the Writer to XHTML extension inside LibreOffice. If you have installed some other extension before and there's some empty space on the top line, you can move these buttons on the top line if you so desire. This is just purely for your convenience. If you want to, just bring your cursor on top of any of these buttons, right click, and click on the toggle switch, lock toolbar position. So when you click on it, it unlocks. When you click on it once again, it locks back again. When you do that, you will see a dotted border. Just grab hold of this border and bring and drop the writer to XHTML toolbar on the top line, and then right click on this button and click once again on the lock toolbar position to lock this. The dotted edges disappear and this now will remain in position. Just wanted to mention quickly that if you come to view and click on toolbars, you will now see the writer to XHTML toolbar checked on. If you click on this, the toolbar disappears. If you come back to view and then come to toolbars, you can always come and reactivate the toolbar by clicking on it. So once we have installed the writer to XHTML extension, we can now start working on our ebook. So let's now load our original document, the one that we are trying to remove the issues from. And this is the same document that I have used in my previous video. I have included this document and all the accompanying files in the description box below. So you can download and follow along if you wanted to. So you will see that it starts with the table of contents. And as we go down, you can see the figures and cross references and things like that. Now, one of the important points here is when you are wanting to convert a document into EPUB, the thumb rule that you should be following is simplicity. So before we go on to convert a document into EPUB, I think it's a good idea to just examine the document and remove any complicated formatting that you encounter, whatever you can think of. So it is best if you can remove any complicated formatting, because that kind of complicated formatting is usually ignored by the EPUB conversion process. So for example, I have a figure here that is on the right hand corner. It might be better if I can bring this figure in the center. So say for example, if I can break this paragraph here, so if I can just bring it here, so that's going to be much simpler formatting as compared to such kind of formatting. So what I have done here is I have brought that figure in the center. So we can just come down examining all the time. I think there is an empty line here, so I can just remove this maybe one more time. So all such kind of small changes you can make, and making sure that the heading style is correct. In this particular case, this is heading style 3 and this is heading style 2, as you can see here. As we come down, we see some more gaps here, so we can just work on this. So simplicity is the key, and this document starts with a table of contents. If we want, we can also bring in a cover image. So in this particular case, I'm going to click on the Insert tab and then go ahead and click on the title page. And in this particular case, I'm going to insert a new title page, and I'm going to check this on to reset the page numbering after the title page. So the title page itself will not be counted, and the next page will be numbered as page 1. So insert new title page, reset page numbering after title page. So I'm just going to go ahead and click on this, press OK. So a new title page has been created for me, and what I can do is I can insert an image here. So I have done a cover here. I'm going to choose this and click on open. So that image is now inserted inside this. I can adjust the size of the image if I wanted to. So once I have my image, so my document is now complete. I have a cover, then I have a table of contents. Now as we have inserted a cover page and have also moved the figure, the page numbering on the TOC might have changed. So we need to update the TOC. So what we are going to do now is come to tools and click on update, and then go ahead and click on update all. So if there are any changes in pages, they will be correctly reflected inside table of contents. And as you can see here, the document is completely ready, and we can now move ahead and start exporting it as EPUB. You will recall in the previous video, I had shown you how to export a document to an EPUB from inside LibreOffice by going to File and then going to Export As, and then just coming here and clicking on export as EPUB. So you would have to fill this dialog and press OK, and you would get your EPUB. This time around, instead of choosing the default export option, which is available from inside LibreOffice, we are going to choose the EPUB export option, that is publish as EPUB, using the Writer to XHTML extension that we had installed earlier. So we will come here and click on this publish as EPUB on the Writer to XHTML toolbar and click on it. So you will see a dialog that has many more options when you compare with what is available through the default export option from LibreOffice. I'm going to use most of these defaults. So we will leave the style as original formatting, scale to 100%. The table will be relative to page width. As we come down, we'll leave image size to relative to page width. If this is not set, please make sure that you set this relative to page width. Units, relative rem, leave these unchecked. By default, they are unchecked. We'll leave them unchecked. We will export notes, so check this on. The document will break at heading level 1. So every chapter will start with a new page. We will leave this to none. As we come down, we find an option. It says use the first image as cover image. So in our document, we have already inserted a cover image, and we can use that first image inside this document. The first image is our cover. So we'll just come here and click on this and make it active. So as we come down, this is an important part here. It says navigation table, heading levels to include in navigation. So because we have 3 levels of headings, we will come down here and click on 3. We have headings 1, heading 2, and heading 3 in our document. So we will make this equal to 3. If you have more levels of heading and you want them to show up in the table of contents, you have to make sure that this is set to that particular number. In my case, this is 3 levels, so I'm going to set it to 3. I'm also going to click here and include links to other indices. So nothing else needs to be done. Include EPUB to navigation. I'm going to leave it just like this. So before we export, we can just fill in quickly some metadata. So click on this button, edit document properties. And in this particular case, you can provide some metadata. For example, if you had an ISBN number, you can come here and type in that particular number. And in the type, you can just choose ISBN. And the same would apply to any other identifier that you would have here. And you can click on this button to add more authors. By default, it just simply takes a name that is associated with the LibreOffice installation. If you want to add more authors, just click here on the add button and you can then keep adding more authors here. Likewise for date, takes the default date, and if you want to change it or modify it or add other dates, you can do that quite easily. Here you have some fields. So one possibility could be subject. So I can just put in some subject and I can put in some keywords. I'm not going to do that. And you can put in a little bit of description here. The publisher's name. In this case, I have a fictitious publisher, and the type could be something like, if you are confused about these different fields like source and relation, you can always click on the help button. So you can just go through this. For rights, you can put in something. In this particular case, I have put in CC by NC. You can put a copyright notice or put all rights reserved, etc. So once the metadata is filled in, you can press OK. And we are all set to export this document. And we'll just come here and click on the export. So when we do this, the document is exported. And we can now go ahead and see that the document is saved inside the folder. And we can then open it in a EPUB viewer. In this case, I'm going to open it in Calibre eBook viewer. So as you can see, I've opened the exported EPUB inside Calibre eBook viewer, and you can see that the document has been perfectly created now. It has a cover page, and you will see that the table of contents now has all the levels of headings, the chapter headings plus section headings, subheadings, and also level 3 headings for Europe and Asia. So our table of contents is complete. This was one of the issues that we wanted to solve. As we go down, you will see that the table of contents is now included. In the previous case, through direct export, we had seen that the table of contents was left out. So that has now been included inside the book itself. And as we move down, you will see that everything is very perfectly laid out. And we can go down and see that the cross references that were not working before, they are now active. So if we click on table 1, you will be taken to table 1. You can press Alt and the left arrow key to come back and start reading from that very same point again. And you can then come here and click on climate impact. So you're taken to that particular section. So all the cross references have been exported and they are working perfectly fine. And as you can see, the table is very nicely laid out. So are the figures. Everything is perfectly fine. And if you go to the first page, you will see that there is a footnote. So when you click on this, you get the footnote on the page itself where you are viewing this particular footnote. So a small window opens and you can see the footnote and the link that it is leading to. So a very nicely created document. You will also notice that we now have the list numbers. So the list has been also properly exported. So all the 4 issues that we had highlighted have now been actually taken care of by exporting the document through the Writer to XHTML plugin. So we have exported this document using the publish as EPUB. You will also see a little button here. So this is just the same as clicking on this button to enter metadata. So when you click on this, you can have direct access to metadata. You can enter anything that you might have forgotten. Also, when you are viewing this ebook after export, if you find that there is any problem, you can always come and try to fix that problem from inside the document and then go back and click on this and publish the ebook once again. So the ebook lands in the same folder in which this document is, and you can just navigate to that particular folder and get hold of your ebook. Now, apart from exporting it as a EPUB, the Writer to XHTML plugin provides us with one other very good facility, and that is to publish the entire document as a website. So in addition to sharing your document for offline reading as a EPUB book, you can also share the document for online reading if you had access to a website on which you can actually host this content. So all you need to do is just come here and click on this button. This is the HTML5 logo. Just click on it. So you'll see this dialog. We'll retain most of the default things that are seen here. The only thing that we would like to make sure is that this is checked on. Split document at headings. This should be checked on. And the heading level should be set to 1. So what this means is that this is a single document, and when it is converted into a website, this will ensure that the chapters will break and there is a single file for every chapter rather than one file for all the chapters. So handling becomes much more easier. So we will check this on, set this to 1, and everything else is as you are seeing on the screen. We are not going to touch anything. We can also click on this save images in a subdirectory. So this is a useful feature. We can just check this on, and once we are done, we will just come here and click on export. So just click on export and you will immediately see that a website is created for you. And this is of course residing on your computer. It's just a collection of HTML pages. But if you had access to a web server, you can then transfer all these files and this can be hosted on a website such that people can read your content online. So as you can see here, it has a navigation bar on top, and you can then just simply go ahead and click on next, and you will see that this content is available for online reading. I'm currently reading this inside my browser, and then next. So this is chapter 2 and you can read this quite conveniently. You can go to the first table of contents, you can go to the last page. So this is like really extremely useful if you want to present your content for online viewing. A quick point: all the files pertaining to the HTML website that has been created are actually residing in the same folder in which your document is residing. So all you need to do is, if you want to transfer this to somebody, you can make a copy of your document and then delete it. Then just simply zip this folder, which is having all the different HTML pages. So as you can see, because we chose split on heading 1, we are having chapter 1 in this file, chapter 2 in this file, and the table of contents in this file. All the images that are part of this website are inside this folder. So all the 4 images are right here. And all you need to do is to just delete this or copy and save it somewhere else. And then just simply zip this folder and send it across for it to be hosted on a website. So this is a great advantage. Apart from creating an EPUB, it can also create a HTML website, and you can then host it on a web server. Let's now look how we can go further and add other features and open up the ePUB eBook for HTML level editing. So to do that, we'll have to install an open source and free ePUB editor called as Sigil. So let's try to do that, and I will show you how you can take this forward and not only introduce new elements inside your ebook like multimedia, but also have finer level control, and you can then fine tune your EPUB ebook in whatever way you want. So I'm on the Sigil website. To reach the Sigil website, you have to type in sigil-ebook.com in your web browser, and you will reach this site. As you can see, this site hosts 2 softwares, one of which is Sigil. This is the main software, and Sigil is a EPUB editor. It's free and open source. And using Sigil, you can edit EPUBs or create ebooks afresh. So this is software number 1. The second software is Page Edit, and Page Edit is a HTML editor. And as you can see, that it is intended to work as a companion app for Sigil. So because EPUB files are a collection of HTML files, the great thing about Page Edit is that it's a WYSIWYG HTML editor, which means that you can edit your EPUB documents without having knowledge of HTML. You can directly make the changes in the document. I'll explain this a little later. So what we need to do is we need to install both these softwares, and the first thing that we want to do is to go ahead and download these softwares. So you can click on this icon, or otherwise you can come here and click on this link. Both will lead to the same place. So we'll first download Sigil. So you can just click here. This is the Sigil page, and you can get more information about Sigil. It's open source and completely free. There is some documentation, some plugins, but the page that we are interested in is download. So we are going to come here and click on download. You can explore the other links also at your convenience if you want. Incidentally, there's also a blog, and you can explore the blog as well. So I'm going to come here and click on this link here, download, and you will see that Sigil is available for Windows. It's also available for Mac OS. And if you go down, you will see that there are packages for a large number of Linux distributions. And of course, Sigil is available as a flat pack on FlatHub for Linux installation. So all 3 operating systems are covered. Sigil supports all 3 operating systems. As I'm working on Windows, I'm going to click here and download Sigil for Windows. So just click on this button and Sigil will start downloading. Next, we will go to Page Edit, and we are going to do the same thing. Page Edit is an HTML editor, as I just mentioned. So we'll just click on the download link for Page Edit. And this is also available for Mac and Windows. So because I'm working on Windows, I will be downloading Page Edit for Windows. So just click on this button and Page Edit will start downloading. Once you are through with this, you will see both these softwares in your download folder. In this particular case, you will see that I have Sigil here, 1.9.30 for 64-bit Windows, and the setup file for Page Edit, the latest version of which is 1.9.20 for Windows. So I have both these softwares here. The next step is you can just simply go ahead and click on this setup and install Sigil following screen instructions. These are normal screen instructions that you would follow for installing any Windows software. Nothing special about them. Just go ahead and install Sigil. And after you have installed Sigil, you can come back here and then install Page Edit, which is an HTML editor. So I just wanted to point out one small detail in the installation of Page Edit that will be very helpful. So as you click on it and proceed installing this software, you will come across this screen, which is asking you for a folder or a directory to install Page Edit in. By default, it is C:\, program files. But in my case, I'm installing it, or I have installed it on the D drive, my D drive. By default, it is usually C drive. It really doesn't matter. All you need to do is to just take a note of this path, the path where Page Edit is being installed. So what you can do is you can just simply select this and just simply copy this path, because we will need this path for a small setting inside Sigil. We'll need to connect these two softwares together just once, and for that we will need this path. So once you have copied this path, you can just simply keep pressing next and install Page Edit. So these softwares are very lightweight. They install very, very quickly. I already have them on my computer, so I'm just going to exit this. So once you have installed both these softwares, you are done with the installation, and we can now start editing our EPUB files or creating ebooks using Sigil. So once you have installed Sigil, just come here and search for the app, and then just go ahead and click on it to open Sigil. So when Sigil starts, this is what you see. There are quite a few icons here on the top. There are 3 distinct screen panels. I will explain all of these in a short while. But one of the first things that we want to do is to come here and connect this button to Page Edit. So when you click on this button, nothing is happening at the moment. And because we have downloaded and installed Page Edit, we want to connect this button to an external HTML editor. In our case, this is going to be Page Edit. Of course, if you prefer some other HTML editor to Page Edit, you can always connect that editor to this particular button. In our case, we are going to connect Page Edit. So currently when I press this button, nothing is happening. To connect Page Edit to this button, I will come to Edit and click on Preferences. And then you will see that in the General Settings, just click on General Settings. There is an option where you have to provide a path to the external editor. If you have already copied the path during installation, you can just come here and paste it, and then just simply go ahead and repeat Page Edit as you are seeing on the screen .exe, and then just simply go ahead and press OK. And when you come here and click on this, now you will see that Page Edit has started opening, and we have successfully connected Sigil to Page Edit. This is just a one-time operation. So once you have done this, you are sorted. The other way to connect Page Edit to Sigil is to come here and click on Preferences once again. Let me clear this out. You can just simply navigate to that particular folder and click on the Page Edit file. So just click on the Browse button and navigate to the Page Edit folder. Click on Program Files, then click on Page Edit. You will see this folder. Just scroll down and you will see this file here, Page Edit Application. Just click on this. So you will see Page Edit appear in the file name box, and then just go ahead and click on Open. The exact same thing. We now have a path, and we can just simply go ahead and press OK. So this is how you can connect Page Edit to Sigil. It's a one-time operation. Once you are done, you are sorted, and you don't have to do this again and again. Whenever you will open Sigil, this button will always keep working. When you click on it, it will just simply open up Page Edit. Once you are done with whatever you are doing inside Page Edit, you can save and exit. You're back inside Sigil. So once we have installed Sigil, and connected Sigil to page edit, we can just directly open our EPUB ebook in Sigil. So this is our exported EPUB ebook that we have exported using Writer to XHTML. So I'm just going to right click on this and open with, and you will now see that there is an option called as Sigil. So you can just click on this and this ebook will then open up inside Sigil. So this is a warning sign that you get when Sigil starts and tries to open an existing ebook. This pertains to one missing statement and Sigil tries to correct it. So we are going to go ahead and click on yes. This happens only once. So when you do this, your ebook then opens up inside Sigil. Of course, after installation, you can just search for Sigil and start Sigil app, and you can just use file open and navigate to your EPUB file, and that file will be opened just like we have done using OpenWith. Now you will notice three very distinct panels on the screen. The first of these panels is Book Browser panel, and everything connected to your EPUB, all the files are available here. So all the text files, the text that you are seeing inside your document, they are all available here as separate files, chapter 1, chapter 2, chapter 3. And when you click on this file, you will see in this window, this is the third window, and this is the preview window. So when you click on a particular file, the contents of that file will be displayed here. You cannot make any changes inside this. This is just for preview, and it is just showing you how your file looks inside a web browser or a EPUB reader. So you will recall that when we exported this document as a EPUB file, and if I can just click on this, we had chosen to break this single document. All chapters were originally inside one single document, but at the time of exporting it as a EPUB file, we had chosen to break or divide the document at every heading level 1. And in this particular document, you will notice that heading 1 are chapter numbers here. So instead of maintaining this after export as one single file, it broke this one file into separate chapters, and you can see that happening here. So if I click on this, you will see that my table of contents is inside this file. If I click on this, you will see that the first chapter is inside this file. And if I click on this, you can see that the second chapter is inside the file. This numbering was done automatically, but if you want this to be coincident with the chapter number, so for example, chapter 2.xhtml file is actually chapter 1. So you can always right click and rename that particular file. I'm going to leave it just like this here. So this is the book browser window. So all these text files are inside the text folder. And if you wanted to add any file here, you don't have to re-export the entire thing. You can right click on this folder and add an existing file. So if you have exported something as an HTML file, you can add that existing HTML file, and that will just come here and add another chapter. Likewise, if you expand the images folder, you will see that all the images that have been used inside your EPUB document, they are inside the images folder. You can add more images if you wanted to, and just right click and add existing file. So if you had other kinds of files, they would all have to be added to these folders, and we will see this in a short while from now. So this book browser window permits you to access all your files inside the EPUB collection. You will recall from the first video, I had shown you that an EPUB file, this one single file, is actually a zip file, and inside the zip file, you have all these different kinds of files. They are basically HTML files, and that becomes visible inside Sigil. The window in the center is the code view window, and this is the heart of Sigil. So this is showing you the HTML that is creating this particular page. So if you had knowledge of HTML, you can directly make a change in the code, and that will be immediately reflected here. So the interesting thing about the preview window is that if you click somewhere, it'll just take you to that line in the code. So if I click here in the preview window, that particular location in the code will be highlighted. And if you strain your eyes, you can clearly see that chapter 1 plastic pollution is being created by this bit of HTML code. And because this is styled as heading 1, you will see that it starts with a H1 or heading 1 tag, and then it closes with a H1 or heading 1 tag. So anything between these two H1s is shown as a H1 styled heading. So let us say, for example, if I wanted to include a line after this heading and just before the start of this particular text. So I know the location now. So what I can do is I can just come here, and if I knew a little bit of HTML, I can introduce a horizontal rule or a horizontal line. So I'm going to come here and just simply insert a HR tag and close this tag. So you will immediately see that a horizontal line appears just after the heading. So what I'm trying to say is that you can directly manipulate what is happening here by inserting HTML code if you had some knowledge of HTML code. So in this particular tutorial, I'm not really very much concentrating on telling you about HTML. So I'm going to just leave it at that. But this is the code view window, and whatever you are doing here will be immediately reflected in your EPUB document. So Sigil provides you with that kind of capability. What we can do now is we can make these edits as if we are working inside a word processor like LibreOffice or Microsoft Word. What we need to do is we will just come here and click on this, and this is the page edit window. So your document will now open inside page edit, and you can make any change that you want here. So these are all the same as any word processor. Say for example, if I wanted to make this bold, I can select it and make it bold. It is now appearing in bold. I can undo it. If I want to introduce another blank line just after this paragraph to separate the figure, I can just press enter, and I can do any kind of thing here. So I can write and introduce text, make it bold, italic, etc. I can create a new list and so on and so forth. I can click on something and create a hyperlink. So all I need to do is to just paste the URL here. So all kinds of things I can do here. These are all very common word processing buttons that you are very familiar with inside all word processors. And if I wanted to convert something to a particular style of heading, so this is currently heading 2. If I wanted to make it heading 1, I can just come here and click on heading 1. If I want to revert it back to heading 2, I can just come here and click on heading 2. If I want something to become a normal piece of text without any headings, I can come here and just make it normal. I've reverted this back to heading 2. So I can make any changes in this document inside page edit. And if I wanted to edit other files, I don't need to go back. I can pick up my files right from here and then make changes inside those files as well. Once I'm done, I need to save it inside page edit. So this is very important. If you don't want to save the changes that you have made, you can always ignore saving that particular document. I'm going to come here and click on save. And when I come out of this, you will see that those changes have been reflected here. There is now a little gap between this and the figure, and so on and so forth. So whatever you are doing inside page edit ultimately manifests itself as code inside this window. So Sigil automatically writes HTML code. And all these icons that you are seeing here, quite similar to what you see inside page edit, they are just referring to this particular window. If say, for example, I wanted to insert a heading 1 here, I can make space and come here and click on heading 1. So the heading 1 tags will be inserted inside the code window. So you can further fine tune your file inside Sigil. If you wanted to remove anything or add anything or make something a little bit different, you can do that quite easily inside Sigil. When you are done, all you need to do is just simply come here and press save, and this very same file that you had opened, this file is now incorporating all those changes. So let's now see a few more things that we can do using Sigil. So I'm going to open my EPUB ebook, right click, open with, and Sigil. So my ebook has opened once again inside Sigil. And let's say I want to introduce some multimedia material inside each of these chapters. Say, for example, in my first chapter, at the end of this chapter, I want people to have a look at a small video on plastic pollution in oceans. And in my second chapter, at the end of my second chapter, I want people to listen to a podcast. So, one audio file and one video file. I can do this quite easily inside Sigil and include multimedia material inside my ebook. All I need to do is to first bring it in. So what I'll do is I'll come to the audio folder, right click and add existing files. And I have a small sample of a BBC podcast. So I'm going to click on this and just go ahead and press open. I have included these files in a zip file for this particular video, and you can download that zip file from the link in the description box and follow along. So as you can see here, when you expand audio, that the podcast sample has now been included inside the audio folder. Likewise, I'm going to come here, right click, add existing files, and I'm going to add this video here and click on open. So inside the video folder, I now have that little sample video that I want my readers to access from inside my ebook. Now, once you have these files inside these folders, it is important that you first bring these files inside. I am currently in my chapter 2. I want to insert a podcast at the end of this document. So I'm going to come here and click on page edit, and my chapter file opens inside page edit. I can then come down here and go to a fresh line. Just in case if you are unable to access or edit this page, you need to click on this button a couple of times. So this is in the edit mode, this is in the view mode, this is inside page edit. By default, it is in the edit mode. But just in case if you're not able to get your cursor, you can quite easily get it back by clicking on this button. So I'm just going to come here and just say, listen to this podcast. Now I can come here and give this a heading, maybe heading 3, and then come here, and now I can insert the audio. Just click on this icon. So what it does is it gives you all the options. You can insert an image, you can insert a video, audio. In this particular case, it is showing everything that is available to me for insertion. Let me just narrow that list to audio, and I now have my MP3 audio here, and I can just come here and click on OK. So that audio is now inserted inside my ebook, chapter 2. And
what's that sound? Is that a clock?
It's a ticking clock, Luke. You see, we are running out of time when it comes to the ticking time bomb that's climate change.
So this is now inserted. I can now save it. So when I go to the bottom of my chapter 2 here, you can see that I have inserted an audio file here. And likewise, I can just go to my chapter 1 and open it in page edit and go to the very bottom of it. And then likewise, please see this video on plastic pollution of oceans. You can correct any spelling mistakes from here, just like you would do in a normal word processor. I'm just making some space here and giving this heading 3, and then just simply coming and clicking once again on this icon. I can click on video. I don't think it's showing that particular video, so I'm going to click back again on all. And as I go down here, I can see this MP4 file. So I'm going to click on this and you can see this, and I can just come here and click on OK. So that video is now inserted inside my EPUB document, and I can then just go ahead and click on this and play this video. So this is a very small sample video, and it has now been successfully inserted. So I can just come here and press save and then move out. As you go down, you can see this video, and this video is now available to my readers. One word of caution when you are using multimedia inside an ebook, that it'll add to the size. So if you have to do this, you must make sure that these are very small files. Like say, for example, if you had a book on birding and you wanted to include some bird call, so those files can be very small. You can provide a small sample of a bird call. So under those circumstances, you can add audio. Otherwise, what you can do is you can always provide it as a URL or a external link. So in this manner, you can add audio and video. Just save this. Be also warned that not all mobile EPUB readers can actually show multimedia content. So if we were to open this inside, let us say, for example, Calibre ebook viewer, let us see what we can see and whether this multimedia content is available. So if we can just come to the end of the second chapter, you can see that the audio recording is available inside the Calibre viewer.
What's that saying?
And it is playing quite nicely. And if I can go to my first chapter, so it's showing here, but it's not really playing. So this probably will not be available inside this particular ebook viewer. If we see it inside other ebook viewers, which I'll show you in a short while from now, all this multimedia content will become available. So this is how you can actually insert multimedia content using Sigil. So let's now see how we can use Sigil to change the default fonts of our EPUB file if we wanted to do that. So let's open this file once again inside Sigil. I'm going to come to open with and click on Sigil. So the file opens up inside Sigil. So what we are trying to do now is that this is the default font that has been provided. If we wanted to change this font to something different, we can do that. But like audio and video, we need to first bring in those fonts inside this particular folder. For that, we need to download fonts. So there are many sources on the internet where you can get free fonts. One of these resources is fontsquirrel.com. You can search for other sources also, for example, Google Fonts. It's very important that you make sure that you are licensed to use fonts, because it is possible that you are using a font that you need to buy. So Font Squirrel provides you many fonts. The first thing we want to do is you can just have a look around and try to settle down on a particular font. In my case, I have done some research and I want to download two fonts. One is Fontaine, and this is just for example. So you will see that it has two kinds of Fontaine fonts. If I click on the first one, it'll show me the sample of the fonts that are available inside the Fontaine packet. And I'm interested in this small caps, Fontaine small caps. So what you can do is you can read the license carefully, and in this particular case it permits me to use this freely. So just click on this button and then go ahead and click on the open type, see open type font. So just click on this and your font download will start, and it has already downloaded this font on my computer, and this is as a zip file. Next, I'm going to come here and download one other font. So what I'm trying to do is I want to have my headings in a particular font, and I want to have my text in another font that is different from what has been provided as a result of the standard EPUB export. So I'm going to come here and look for Literata, and this is one of the fonts that I'm interested in. You can choose any font that you want. Just click on this. There are quite a few of these font varieties here, bold, italic, and so on and so forth. So the regular seems to be a reasonably good font for the general text inside my ebook. So I'm once again mentioning that you need to check out the license, okay? And once you are okay with the license, you can download this font. And as you can see, both these are inside my download folders. All I need to do is to unzip them. And once you have unzipped them, we are ready to go. So here are my unzipped font folders. And when I click on this, you will see all those fonts available here. I am particularly interested in font in small caps, and that is the one that I'm going to load. Likewise, after unzipping the Literata book font, I have quite a few of these. I am interested in the regular font here, Literata book regular, the first one. I can of course use any of these Literata book varieties like bold, italic, etc. But I'm interested only in the first one. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to come to my fonts folder, right click on it and click on add existing files. And then I'm first going to open my font in PC and click on this and open. So you will see that this font has arrived inside the fonts folder and it is now available to me for use. Likewise, so right click and add existing files and then open the Literata book font folder and click on the first option and open this. So both these fonts are now available to me and I can start using them inside my EPUB ebook and change these defaults, one for the heading and one for the text inside my book. I can change these to these different kind of fonts such that my book is a little bit more stylish. Now, before we can do this, I need to tell you a little bit about CSS, and I expect that you will not be overwhelmed by this discussion. It's really very, very simple to understand. So I request you to have patience and just listen to what I have to say. Now, this is a really neat trick that I'm about to demonstrate to you. All styling that you are seeing inside my different chapters is coming through what is called as a cascading style sheet. So if you open this styles folder here, just expand it, you will find that there is a file that is called as style1.css, and all the styling that you are seeing here is coming from this particular style sheet. So just notice here that I've opened my chapter2.xhtml file, and if I was to go right to the top of this file, you will see that this file is linked to styles1.css. You can see that here. This chapter2 xhtml file is linked to, there is a statement here that says it is linked to style1.css, and this is style1.css. The same applies to chapter 3, and this was done by our EPUB export itself. So you will see here right at the top that this chapter 3 file, as you can see here, this is also linked to styles1.css. All the chapters are drawing their style from style1.css, which is this particular file. So when we double click on this file, it shows you what is inside this file, and by default, it's almost unreadable. So what we are going to do is we will right click inside this window and we will reformat this CSS. Sigil has this wonderful option, and you can then come here and choose multiple lines per style. So when we click on this becomes really pretty, and we can now read it. If we understand what we are doing, we can make quite a few changes to styles from this one single place, and whatever change you are going to make will be reflected across the entire ebook, because all the chapters of the ebook are drawing their style from styles1.css. Let us just scroll down and have a look and see how styling works. So I'm not going to touch any of these. And here I find something that is of interest to me, heading 1. So I have styled all my chapter headings as heading 1. And inside these two curly brackets, it is showing that all this much of styling, font weight will be bold, the font size is 150%. This is as per the CSS syntax. You have to write it as per some rules. But what we are implying here is that anything inside this document that you find as heading style 1, you have to come inside style1.css and style it using all these statements. So the margin left will be 0, margin right will be 0, the top margin will be so much, the bottom margin will be so much. So all this is applied to heading 1. Let us say, for example, if I come here and make one addition to this and say color, COLOR, colon, and let me make it red. So the moment I do this, my chapter heading color, which is styled in heading 1, nothing else has changed, only that particular segment that I styled as heading 1 changes to red color. And currently I am actually seeing chapter 1. If I go to the next chapter on climate change, clicking here, you will see that the same change has been reflected in the second chapter. And if I had 10 other chapters, all headings will start appearing in red, just because all of these are connected to this style sheet, and I made that change inside that style sheet. Let us scroll down. So we have heading 2 here. So all of these are heading 2. Let us make another change here and say color is blue, colon blue, and you will immediately see all second level headings change their color to blue. And the same I can do with the third one. If I want to come here and say color green, I make the change at one single place, because all these files are connected to style1.css. That change is seen across all the files. My chapter 1 second level headings are also now in blue. So this is how CSS works. Everything is connected to one single style sheet, and you can give different styles to different elements that you have styled inside your document. Let me now just remove this, and I can come here and remove this, and my headings go back to black. My heading to, I'm just removing it from here. Immediately my heading 2 will become black, and likewise for heading 3, I don't want them in green, remove that. So you can see that any changes that I'm making at one place in my styles1.css file immediately get reflected in my entire ebook. This is the power of cascading style sheets, or CSS. Let's now see how we can use CSS to change the default fonts for our ebook. So to start using different fonts for chapter headings and also subheadings, and for the general text in this EPUB ebook, we are going to add some code to the styles1.css file, which we are seeing here. And the general idea is that we are first going to give the font a name and also the location where it can be found, which is basically the path to this particular folder here. And once we have given the name and the path, we can then start using it in styling our headings and also the body text of this EPUB ebook. So what I have done is I have created a small sample style file, and I'll be sharing this file. You can download it using the link in the description box. It'll be part of the follow along packet that you can download. And what we can do now is we can just simply copy and paste this code here. So I'm going to copy the first part and come here and paste it. So what I have just done is I have mentioned that one of the fonts that I will be using is small caps. The weight of the font is going to be bold. It will be small caps font, which means all the letters will be in small capitals. The style will be normal. And this one is very important, that it is available inside the fonts folder. And we are just saying src colon URL, and within brackets we start with 2 dots / fonts, which is this particular folder, and then we are just simply going ahead and just replicating the name of the font, that is fontin dash smallcaps.otf. So what we have done is we have just made this font available inside the CSS by adding this particular code. We will do the same for our second font that we will be using for the body text inside the EPUB ebook. So I'm going to come back again to my file, and this is exactly the same except for the name of the font, which is now going to be Literator. So I'm going to come here and paste this. So this is exactly the same. The name is different, only that we will be using a normal font weight and also a normal variant. And this font is like this one, found inside our fonts folder. So this is that particular font. So we have done the exact same thing. So we have declared inside the styles1.css folder that these two fonts are now available to us. Now, what we want to do is we want to use them to, first of all, change the font of this heading. So this one is heading 1, as we already know. So I'm going to scroll down and try to see if I can find heading 1 anywhere. So just a little down, I find heading 1, and now what I can do is I can just add my font family and everything right here. So I'm just going to remove everything to do with fonts. This is the normal default that was inside styles1.css when we exported using the writer to XHTML extension. And what I'm going to do now is copy this inside H1, and I'm just going to copy this. I'm going to come here and paste it, and I would like you to just keep an eye on this heading. So I'm just going to come here and paste them. And the moment I do this, you will see that the chapter headings are now in a very different kind of small caps font. And this is different from the previous font. So let me just also explain two other things that we have added here. One is text align colon center. So that just simply centers the heading. If you want this, you can have it. Otherwise, if you prefer your headings on the left, you can just delete this. And the font size is 2em. So em is a unit of measure. And what this is basically saying is font size is 2 times the size of the normal 1em font. We are now saying that H1 should be displayed in font family small caps. And you will see here something very important. I have put a comma and then I have added sans-serif. So what this is basically trying to say is that when this EPUB file will be viewed inside a EPUB viewer, if for some reason the small caps font is not loading properly, the EPUB reader can use any sans serif font that it can find and display the heading. So this will make sure that something will get displayed here in the event that the font that we want does not load in the EPUB viewer. So this is one very important thing. So we have just entered this right here, and we are going to repeat the same thing for. So I'm just going to copy this, and I'm going to come down and then go for H2. So I'm going to remove all references to font right here. Just clean this up and then just simply paste it. Now the size of the second is exactly the same because we have copied it. But what we are going to do is we are going to reduce this to smaller size, maybe 1.7 EM. So you can now see that H2 headings, the subheadings are also centered and they are a little bit smaller than the main chapter heading. So we have successfully also changed the font of the level 2 headings. And in chapter 3, we have a few third level headings like Europe and Asia. So we are going to do the same thing. I'm going to come here and click on my styles1.css and I will just go down and here is H3. Once again, I'm going to remove everything pertaining to fonts and introduce my own font lines. So what I'm saying is H3 will also be displayed in small caps. It will be bold and the size of the third level heading would be maybe 1.4 or 1.3. So these are all things that you can try and you will see here that this is the third level heading. It is also centered and it is in a smaller size than the second level heading, which is in turn smaller than the first level heading. So as you can see, the level 3 headings are now in small caps. They are centered and they are 1.4 EM in size, which is smaller than the level 2 headings. And level 2 headings are smaller than the main chapter heading. So we have successfully changed the fonts of the headings H1, H2 and H3 by introducing this little bit of code. You can copy and follow this. And every time that we are mentioning that we want to use this font family, we are also putting an alternate here that if you are not able to do this for some reason, the EPUB eBook viewer should use any font that is available and the heading will then be displayed. So this is how you can change the headings. Let us now change the body text. So I'm going to come back here and click on chapter 2, which is actually my chapter 1. So you will see that the headings here are now changed and this was in level 3 heading. So this is also changed, but all of them are now in font in small caps and they are centered and they are of different sizes because this file is connected to styles1 CSS. And the same is also true for the next chapter, which is chapter 2. You will find that all headings are now having font in small caps font and level 3 headings are different from level 2 headings in terms of size, but all of them are using the font in small caps font for displaying the headings here. Let us now change the font for the body text. We will be using Literata for body. So to change the body text, we will just simply lift the first 3 lines from the Literata block and copy them. And we will just simply come here and change this and paste it here. And you will see that the font has now changed and this is now being shown in the Literata font. So we are going to create the same fail-safe mechanism here as well. And we will say that if you are for some reason not able to load the Literata font, use any serif font. Serif fonts are fonts that have these little embellishments, and sans serif fonts are those fonts that are not having these little embellishments, like, at the edge of the T, you can see some artistic flourish. So the sans serif fonts are cleaner. One example of sans serif font is Arial, which doesn't have these embellishments. So all the body text that you are seeing now has changed to Literata, and we can also see the same effect in the next chapter because that is also connected to the same sheet. So we will come here and you will see that all the body text is now being shown in Literata. So this is how we can add new fonts to our ebook and display headings and the text matter in different fonts. Now let me also show you one other thing. let us say, for example, I want to have a line here in between chapter 1 and this block of text. So I can do that quite easily. I'm going to come here and click on this so I reach that particular location, and I can just come here and just put in an HR tag. HR stands for horizontal rule, and you will notice that till the time that I'm not closing this tag, an error is being shown here. So I'll just move forward, put in a forward slash and close this tag. So the moment I do this, that error goes away and I now have a line in between the chapter heading and the text. If I want to introduce a little bit of space here, I can open it in page edit and just punch one space here. Just press enter and save it. So we have a line here, and we will have to repeat the same thing for the next chapter also. So I'm just going to come here and I've reached that particular location. So just after this H1 tag, which is the heading 1 tag, I'm going to do the same thing, HR forward slash and close. So I now have a line right here separating my chapter headings from the rest of the text. If I want to style this line, I can open up my styles1.css sheet and then come and add a little bit of styling code for HR. So I will just say HR and open two curly brackets right here. And then I can just come here and say border colon 1 pixel solid red. So you will immediately see that the style for HR changes, and not only it changes in this particular file, it will also change in the previous chapter, because wherever it is going to find an HR tag, it will style it in this particular fashion. What we can also do is we can add another line here, and we can just say width colon, and let us say 65%. We finish every line with a semicolon. So you can see that it's not now going from edge to edge, just a small line under every chapter heading. So this is how we can introduce a line, and you can reduce its width or change its color. So this is how we can introduce another element, which is a horizontal line to divide sections. You will also notice a small button here, and this is spell check. So once you are done, you can save, and you can then just come here and click on spell check. So any spelling that is not properly done will become visible here. Some of these are not spelling mistakes, so you'll have to take a call. So for example, in this particular case, this is clearly a spelling mistake. So I can just come here and click on it. It'll show me the correct spelling, and I can just click here and change that particular spelling. And I can click on another word and come here and change if I wanted to. So in this manner, I can just go through all the spellings in my document and correct them before I can save them and finally produce my ebook. So as I've mentioned before, all the code that I have used to change fonts, I have given inside this sample style CSS file, which you can open using Notepad, and you can then use this, copy and paste inside the style sheet to follow along and also keep it for reference. This also includes the styling that I have used for the HR tag. Let me now share a final trick with you. Many times in our documents, we need to create highlighted text. For example, we might want to highlight certain text to create a small alert box. So I'll show you how you can do that quite easily. So we will use CSS once again for this. I'm currently inside my chapter 2, which is this file. So let us say I want to insert a little quotation at the end of this file. So what I'm going to do is I will come here and open my page edit. So this chapter opens inside page edit. So I'll just come to the end where I want to insert my quotation and just simply go ahead and type it or paste it. So this is a small quote that I want to insert and put it inside a alert box or a highlight box. So I've just inserted this quotation at the end of my document. I'm going to do nothing with it except for just simply going ahead and saving it. So I will just go and click on the save button, and then I'm going to exit page edit. So as you can see, this quotation is now visible right at the end of the document. So if I can just come here and click on this, so I am taken to the exact place inside the code where this quotation has been inserted. And you will notice that this is a paragraph starting with a P and then ending with a P. This is the end P and this is the start P. The only important point to note here is that this is a paragraph that has been given a class value of standard. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to just simply remove this standard and insert a name that I have created. Let me say tip text. So what I'm saying is that this quotation text is specially marked as a paragraph that is called as tip text. Now, once I have done this, I will head to my style1.css style sheet, and I'm going to go to the very end of this style sheet and create a style sheet for that kind of a paragraph, that is tip text paragraph. So I'm going to just simply come here and write P, and to indicate the class of this special tip text paragraph, I will just say P dot tip text and then put in two curly brackets, one to start, one to end. And I'm going to come here and then just start styling this particular piece of text. You will see whatever I'm going to enter here inside these two curly brackets, it will immediately start manifesting on this little piece of text which we have classed as tip text. So let me just come here and say border colon 1 pixel solid red. We have done this before. So you should immediately see that the quotation is now surrounded by a red border. I can increase the size of this border by just simply coming here and making it 2 pixels. So this is now a thicker border. So I can play around with it. So if I wanted to fill this box, I could use another statement. I would just simply say background dash color, that is COLOR colon, and instead of specifying a color like red, green, blue, etc., I'm going to use a special function that is RGBA, start a bracket, and then start giving some values. So 255 of red, 230 of green, and 230 of blue. And for the last value, which is A, which stands for alpha, we can decide whether the color will be solid opaque or whether it will have some kind of transparency by giving a value between 0 and 1, 0 being completely transparent, 1 being completely opaque. So let us start with 1, that is a solid color, and let us close this bracket and put a semicolon at the end. So by doing this, you have also filled this particular box. Now, how do you get these values? Well, you can play around with them. If you use 255, 255, 255, you get white color. If you use 0, 0, 0, you have black color. So if you want to pick this color, you can go to this site called as rgbacolorpicker.com. I have included the link in the description below. And you can just simply come here and choose a particular color or use these sliders to create a color, or even go ahead and type your values here and then just simply click on this to copy this particular color and then use that same color values inside your style sheet. So we have filled in this box as well. If we wanted to align this text in the center, we could just simply say text align and colon and center and put a semicolon at the end. So you can see now that the text is centered, and we can then further make sure that the box is not touching the edge of the screen. So we could just come here and give margin on all the sides. So margin left colon, and we can just say 1 EM. So you will notice that the box is moved a little bit away from the margin. And likewise, we can just simply say 1 for the right margin, margin right colon 1 EM. So this will ensure that the right margin is also absolutely clear. If there was text just above this or below this, you might also like to include a margin on the top and bottom. So we can just simply also say margin top 1 EM. This will not really create a very demonstrable effect here at this time. And likewise, margin dash bottom 1 EM. So all the 4 margins are now taken care of, and there will be some space on all sides. And finally, if we wanted to control the size of the font inside the box, we can just simply say font dash size colon, and we can do 1 EM. And say, for example, we wanted to make this text a little bit bigger than the other text inside the document, we can just say 1.25 EM. So you will see that the text size will become bigger. So we can control everything inside this box using the p.tip text styling. I've included these statements inside the sample style.css, which you can download to follow along. Now, finally, let us say, for example, we want to create a little bit of space here. So we can just click on this and open this inside Page Edit, and then just come down here and make sure that we reach the end just at this particular point and press Shift and Enter, making sure that we are not creating a paragraph. We are just giving a soft carriage return, and maybe come to the end and then press Shift and Enter to create more space at the bottom, and then just come to the beginning and press Shift and Enter to create some space at the top also. So if you use Shift and Enter, you create a soft carriage return, the paragraph is not broken. And we can even highlight this by making this bold and then just going ahead and saving it, and then just coming out of it to see what has happened now. So you will see that we can do a lot in creating very nice looking tip boxes inside your ebook. So anything that you want to highlight, say for example, if I wanted to highlight this particular paragraph, all I need to do is just simply come here, and then instead of making this class as standard, you can just come here and just simply say tip text. Because tip text styling is already present inside our styles1.css sheet, you can immediately see that that particular text will get styled as a alert box or a highlight box. And if you want to revert back, you can just come back here and say standard. So that will be reverted back to normal. So this is how you can create very nice looking alert boxes inside your document. Now, before we move ahead, let's look at a very important point. We have made quite a few changes in this document after we exported it as an EPUB from inside LibreOffice. For example, we added a level 3 heading here and added a podcast in this particular chapter, that is chapter 2. Likewise, in chapter 1, you will recall that we had added a video and we have created a level 3 heading here asking people to see this particular video. So we have made quite a few changes inside this document after we had exported this document. So the important point to understand before you finally save and start circulating your document is that you need to update your table of contents. Now you will notice here that one table of content called as nav.xhtml is automatically created by Sigil, and this file cannot be deleted because this is used by ebook readers. So when we double click on it, you will see that it has a table of contents, but it does not have the recording and the video that we had added later on. Because we had styled it as level 3, we should ideally be able to see them here. But the current nav.xhtml file does not show the podcast and the video. So what we need to do is we need to come here and click on this button and regenerate our table of contents. You can also access this by going to Tools and going to Table of Contents, and then just simply come here and click on Generate Table of Contents. So for the time being, we are just going to come here and click on this button. And when we do this, it opens up a dialog and asks us what is the level of heading that we want to include in our table of contents. And of course, we want to not only include heading 1, heading 2, but also include heading 3. And you will notice here, the video and the audio is appearing here. So unless we uncheck any element, we are going to see all our headings in the table of contents. So we'll just go ahead and click on OK. And you will now see that the video is appearing here and the audio is also appearing here. So the table of contents has now been updated. So this is the table of contents that all ebook readers will automatically have, whether you include a table of contents inside your ebook or not. So this is now updated. Next, you will recall that we had a table of contents inside our document, and when we exported, it was automatically titled as chapter 1. And you will notice that this also does not have the new additions that we have made. So what we are going to do now is we cannot manually include this here. So clicking on this will not work on this particular file. It has only connection with nav.xhtml. So what we are going to do is we are going to delete this file and regenerate this file once again. So right click on this and we will just click and delete it, and just go ahead and say delete marked files. And we will take this opportunity to rename these chapters. This is chapter 1, but it is named as chapter 2. So just right click on it, rename, and we will call this as chapter 1. And we will come here, right click likewise, and call this as chapter 2. So our chapters are renamed, but we are missing that particular file, the TOC file, because we deleted it. So what we are going to do now is to come to Tools and go to Table of Contents, and then go right to the end and choose the last option, Create HTML from the Table of Contents. So when we click on this, a new TOC is generated, and it is showing the video and the audio also inside the Table of Contents. So we can move this if we wanted to and bring it down here. So we start with the table of content. So the first file is the cover. We can right click and rename this also as cover. So this is the cover file, and then we have the TOC. So we are just going to ignore this file because this is just used by the EPUB readers to create a navigation. Then this is followed by our TOC that will be part of the document, and this is current. If you say, for example, make more changes, you can always come back here and go to Tools, Table of Contents, and then just click on this. So this TOC will then be updated and will always reflect the latest table of contents. No new file will be added here. You will also notice that a style sheet has just simply been added for displaying this TOC. So we are going to ignore this, but you can always double click on it and open and have a look at it. But this is the TOC that has now been generated. This is chapter 1 and this is chapter 2. So we are now completely up to date, and it is important to update the navigation file using the generate table of contents button, and also update your TOC or create a new TOC by just simply going to Tools and going to Table of Contents, and then just coming here and creating a table of contents. So by doing this, you make sure that your table of contents are completely current. And you can now go ahead and save this document and share this document with other people. One final point, let us say, for example, after export, I wanted to add one chapter or something like a preface or an epilogue. I can do that quite easily by just simply coming here and clicking on the text folder, right click, and just simply either adding a blank HTML file, or if I have created my epilogue or preface inside a word processor, then you can go and save as HTML and bring that file inside using this particular button, add existing files. Or otherwise you can just simply create a blank file. I'm going to do that and paste your content right inside. So I'm going to do that. I'll just click on this. So a new file has been added here. I can right click and rename it. Let me call it epilogue. And we have this file right here. And you can just double click on it. Currently it contains nothing. So we will just open this blank epilogue file inside page edit, and then just simply come here and paste whatever content we wanted to paste. We will just style this as heading 1, and everything is just fine as a paragraph. So I can then just come here and save it. So when you come out, you see that this file is now having content, but it is not being displayed using that particular style sheet, that is style1.css. You will recall that the headings were in small caps. So what we need to do is we'll connect this with the style sheet. So just right click on this file and then just simply come here and choose link style sheets, and then just link it with style sheet 1.css. So the moment you do this, the moment I'm going to press OK, you will see a change in this heading, and it will be in small caps because we have styled this as heading 1, and styling will then immediately be picked for heading 1 from style1.css. So let me just come here and click on OK. So you can now see that the headings are in font in small caps and the text is in Literata book regular. So you will also remember that the body text was styled inside style1.css to use the Literata font. So we have added a new chapter right here at the end by pasting in text. What you can also always do is to write your additional chapter inside your word processor and then just simply export it or save it as an HTML file. Right click here, click on add existing file, and then pick up that HTML file. It will land up right here. You can rename it and then just simply move it or adjust it as you want by dragging and dropping. You can then come here and press save, and you can then just simply go ahead and start viewing that document. So let me show you how this document reads on an iPad using the book app. So this will show you that if the app is capable of viewing sound as well as video, how would the ebook look like on a mobile device. So I'm going to show you how this ebook will read inside the iPad. And you can see that the cover has been very nicely exported. We are seeing the metadata, the name of the book, as well as the name of the author. Then let's just go ahead and click on read. So it takes you inside. We can very clearly see the updated table of contents showing not only the major headings, but also subheadings and level 3 headings, as you can see. As we move forward, we can see chapter 1, and you will notice that the heading is in font in small caps. All the letters are in capitals, and you will also notice that the text is in Literata book. Figures are quite nicely being seen and labeled. Moving forward, you can see that all the cross references have been preserved. Table 1, climate change impacts. Also, you will notice just above ecosystem, the footnote has been preserved and it is working. As you tap on it, you can see that the footnote is visible. Tap on it once again and it will go away. You can click on a cross-reference, for example, climate change impacts. It'll take you there. You can see that we have reached the climate change impacts section. And then we can always go back from where we had come. So moving forward, we can see that we have a video here that we had included. Let's just try to see if we can play it. I'm going to press on the play button here and then enlarge it. So you can see that the video has been incorporated inside the ebook and it is playing perfectly fine. And let's move forward. So we are on chapter 2. And as we move forward, everything seems to be in order. You can see that the audio recording is also available, the podcast. Let us see if it is working. So let me just go ahead and click on the play button.
What's that sound? Is that a clock?
It's a ticking clock, Luke. You see, we are running out of time when it comes to the ticking time bomb that's climate change.
So the podcast is working perfectly fine and it has been included inside the book. And you can also see that the tip box or the alert box that we had created using the quotation, that has also come out really well. It has a red border and a red fill. And finally, we also have the epilogue that we had included at the end of the book. Needless to say, we can always go back to Sigil and make further adjustments to anything that we don't like, as creating an ebook is a trial and error process. So you can see that the ebook reads very nicely inside a mobile ebook reader, and it is also showing both the video and the audio. But it is possible that some other ebook or EPUB reader may not be able to show you the video and the audio. One very good thing about Sigil is that whenever you are making changes to a document and you are unsure how those changes are going to work out, you can just come here and click on this and it will create a checkpoint for you. So let us say, for example, a checkpoint has now been created. And if I'm coming here and making some changes, let us say by mistake, I delete this and I save it. So now I'm in a bad position. I have lost something. So what I can do is I can just simply come here and click on restore EPUB. And you will see that the previous restore point or checkpoint is available to me. And I can just simply come here and click on OK and then go ahead and press yes. So it will revert this file back to its previous state, the state that I had saved. So as you keep working and if everything is going fine, just keep pressing this button again and again to create a checkpoint. And if you mess up anything, you can always go to the previous checkpoint where everything was perfectly fine using this particular button here, restore EPUB to previous checkpoint. When you click on this, you will see many checkpoints, as many as you have saved, and then you can choose to go back to one of those. So I hope you found this tutorial useful and that it helps you create properly formatted EPUB eBooks using your documents inside LibreOffice Writer. If your document is in MS Word, you can open it directly in LibreOffice Writer and use the steps demonstrated in this tutorial to export your document as an EPUB ebook and then fine-tune it inside Sigil. I have not intended this video to be an HTML and CSS tutorial and have therefore confined myself to explain how you can format ebooks without having knowledge of HTML and CSS. I have therefore only used very minimal code and style interventions, limiting myself to those that are most commonly used in formatting ebooks. I hope using these videos, you can share your documents not only as PDF, but also as ebooks, which provide a much better reading experience on mobile devices. I thank you very much for watching this video, and I look forward to seeing you in my next video.